Because there are reports that Prince Harry, Meghan Markle and their children could be set to lose their royal titles if and when Prince William becomes monarch.
Your titles are gone. You're going to be Meghan Mountbatten-Windsor. Your husband's going to be Harry Mountbatten-Windsor. And all your threats of legal action, I think, is something that William will quite rightly stare down.
The clock could be ticking for Prince Harry, and people who watch the royal family closely believe he feels the pressure. With King Charles continuing to face serious health challenges, Prince William is quietly getting ready for a future where the monarchy might look very different from what the world is used to. Behind palace doors, conversations are said to be heating up about Harry's long-term role inside the royal structure. Titles, privileges, and the few remaining links tying him to royal life could all be on the table for review. Some insiders even claim that if certain plans move forward, everything could change very fast, almost like shutting the door on a royal chapter in one sudden decision. Right now, Harry is reportedly traveling across the Atlantic, but sources say this does not look like a normal family visit or a routine charity stop. Royal commentators believe the timing feels unusually intense and carefully planned.
There are growing calls to strip Harry and Meghan of their royal titles. The New York Post is reporting that locals in the UK say enough is enough, especially after Prince Harry's disastrous BBC interview, which aired hours after he lost his appeal for taxpayer-funded.
So that they would no longer have a title whatsoever, and their children would lose what Meghan Markle once referred to as their birthright.
According to sources who closely follow developments around Buckingham Palace, Harry reportedly arranged a private flight not long after realizing how serious the situation inside the monarchy might be becoming. From the outside, it could look like just another royal trip across the Atlantic, but many observers believe this journey carries far more weight than people first assumed. For Harry, this moment could play a major role in shaping how he stays connected to the royal family in the years ahead. His relationship with the institution has already changed in dramatic ways, and now some royal watchers believe another turning point could be quietly approaching. At the same time, reports circulating among royal commentators suggest that palace officials may be reviewing how titles connected to Harry and Meghan might be handled moving forward. This idea has been whispered about for years in royal circles, but lately some analysts say the conversation seems to be gaining serious momentum. If those discussions ever turn into real action, it could mark a historic shift in how the monarchy defines its working members and the extended branches of the family. For an institution built on centuries of tradition, decisions like that are never rushed, which is exactly why every small development is being watched so closely. What makes the situation even more striking is how quickly things now appear to be moving behind palace doors. Traditionally, major royal decisions unfold at a slow, careful pace, with layers of meetings, consultations, and planning before anything becomes public.
I think there's much of a relationship between William and Andrew, but I think Harry and Meghan should be shaking in their boots right now if they are not already. And they could have had the best of all worlds if they had played their cards right. But this was...
Meghan is just still that desperate starlet trying to cling on to any bit of fame and fortune that she can get her hands on. Despite climbing up the pole, the highest that anybody could ever go, she slid straight back down to where she was before she even met.
Royal historians often explain that changes involving titles or family roles inside the monarchy usually take a long time to finalize, sometimes months, even years. The royal system is built on tradition, procedure, and careful planning, so nothing normally moves quickly. But according to several royal observers, the past few weeks have felt very different from the usual slow pace. Some insiders claim the atmosphere inside Buckingham Palace has suddenly become far more urgent. Conversations that once sounded like distant possibilities are now reportedly being treated as serious matters that need immediate attention. One palace watcher even described the mood as unusually tense, explaining that the level of pressure has not felt this intense since the period following Queen Elizabeth II's passing. And when that kind of urgency starts building inside the royal household, it often signals that something major could be developing behind the scenes. People who follow the monarchy closely say moments like this rarely appear without a reason. Before we go deeper into what Prince William may reportedly be preparing, the reactions from royal insiders, and why author Tom Bower has also been speaking about the situation, make sure you subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video. There is much more unfolding inside the palace, and the next details may genuinely surprise you. Inside Buckingham Palace, the sudden change in pace has reportedly caught some staff members off guard. Individuals who have worked around the royal household for many years say the atmosphere shifted almost overnight. One palace staff member, speaking quietly and off the record, explained that the mood inside the building became noticeably different in a very short time. According to that source, the moment King Charles's health situation appeared more serious, conversations that once sounded calm and ceremonial suddenly became far more strategic. The feeling, they explained, was that emotions were pushed aside and replaced with a sharp focus on protecting the future of the monarchy above everything else. That same staff member described the shift in very direct terms. In their view, once the king's condition worsened, the internal mindset inside the royal family moved away from personal worries and toward what they called institutional survival. They said it felt as if a switch had suddenly flipped throughout the palace corridors.
Well, I do. I really do feel it will happen, and I think it's important.
Here's the story right here. Reported by The Express, Prince Harry loses family title as other royals steps in to replace him.
To know that it won't be a revenge play by William.
Harry's digging an even bigger hole for himself here.
Well, I think he's dug so deep now, he'll strike water any day now.
Discussions inside palace circles have reportedly become far more direct, far more calculated, and much less sentimental than before. In Prince William's world right now, insiders say the priority is extremely clear. Anything that could threaten the credibility of the crown has to be handled quickly and firmly. Tradition still holds enormous importance inside the monarchy, but stability now appears to matter even more. King Charles's cancer diagnosis did not just affect public appearances or royal schedules. According to royal commentators, it sent a ripple through the entire structure of how responsibilities inside the monarchy are managed. To the public, the image remains steady. The king continues carrying out his duties while managing treatment, maintaining a sense of normality for the country and the Commonwealth. But behind palace walls, many observers believe a quiet shift in influence may already be unfolding. Some insiders have even begun referring to this moment as the quiet succession, not as a formal transition of power, but as a reflection of how much responsibility Prince William has gradually taken on in recent months. Prince William, once known for maintaining a more relaxed and reserved public presence, now appears to be operating very differently according to people who closely watch palace dynamics. With the king focusing more heavily on his health, William has reportedly stepped deeper into high-level responsibilities. Royal watchers say he has been participating in more strategic meetings, diplomatic conversations, and key discussions about how the royal family presents itself to the world. These are the kinds of conversations that shape the long-term direction of the monarchy. None of this has been officially described as a transfer of authority. However, many insiders believe William's role has quietly expanded in ways that strongly hint at where the monarchy could be heading next. People who have followed William's journey over the years say his leadership style has evolved dramatically. The version of William seen today, according to several palace observers, is far more disciplined and highly protective of the royal institution than the younger prince many remember from a decade ago. The easygoing image that once defined him has gradually been replaced by someone who appears determined to guard the monarchy's reputation with careful precision. Every public move, every headline, and every controversy is now watched with intense scrutiny, and this is where the reported tension surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan begins to enter the conversation. From William's perspective, according to several royal commentators, the ongoing headlines involving the couple have created repeated public challenges for the royal brand.
This fascinating reporting from Radar Online, and it's their British-based reporter Aaron Tinney, a tabloid veteran, who writes, Meghan Markle already preparing to go legal over fears Prince William will inevitably come for her Duchess title. And he writes, Meghan Markle is panicked and defiant.
William is reportedly formulating a plan to finally strip Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their HRH title.
Some insiders describe the current situation as unpredictable and extremely difficult to manage, especially with global media watching every move. In Prince William's increasingly disciplined approach to protecting the monarchy's image, stability and control have become major priorities. Critics say Harry and Meghan are now viewed less as distant relatives and more as unpredictable variables that could disrupt the crown's carefully managed public narrative. Every interview, headline, or public appearance connected to them quickly spreads across international media, creating waves that the palace cannot easily control. King Charles has long been known for leading with empathy and personal connection. Throughout his public life, he has often leaned toward patience and reconciliation when dealing with family tensions. But people who follow the royal family closely say Prince Prince William's leadership style appears noticeably different. Where Charles often favors diplomacy and understanding, William is widely seen as someone who values structure, discipline, and clear outcomes. Royal commentators say this contrast in leadership styles is becoming more visible as William moves deeper into a central role within the monarchy. According to several palace observers, William's mindset is far more strategic when it comes to protecting the institution. In his view, the monarchy is not only a family legacy filled with centuries of ceremony and tradition, it is also a powerful global institution that depends heavily on public trust and reputation. Because of that, insiders say he places enormous focus on stability, public perception, and long-term credibility. Emotional reactions, they suggest, are far less likely to guide his decisions when the image of the crown is at stake. This difference in perspective is one reason the ongoing situation involving Prince Harry and Meghan continues to attract intense attention. While some supporters believe the couple stepped away from royal life after feeling misunderstood, others within royal circles see the situation from a completely different angle. According to several royal commentators, Prince William reportedly views the constant media spotlight surrounding Harry and Meghan as a serious challenge to the monarchy's carefully managed public image. Every major interview, documentary, public appearance, or memoir discussion quickly becomes a global headline, and each new wave of attention pulls the royal family back into another round of public debate and controversy. Observers say these repeated moments have slowly built frustration behind palace walls. The concern, according to several analysts, goes far beyond simple family disagreements. The real issue centers on how the monarchy is viewed around the world. Royal institutions depend heavily on stability, consistency, and a sense of calm authority. Dramatic headlines, constant speculation, and ongoing public disputes can slowly chip away at that carefully maintained image over time. Critics of Harry and Meghan within royal circles believe these high-profile moments have created reputational pressure that palace officials must continuously manage. One palace aide was once quoted by a royal watcher as quietly saying that William is cleaning house. The comment was reportedly made during a hushed conversation that very few people were meant to hear, but once those words surfaced, they quickly spread through royal commentary circles. Whether the remark was exaggerated or not, many analysts believe it reflects how determined William may be to reshape both the monarchy's internal structure and its public image as the next generation of leadership gradually takes form. For years, King Charles was often described as the figure who kept the door open for reconciliation with Prince Harry. His approach was widely seen as patient, thoughtful, and quietly hopeful. Built on the belief that time might eventually ease tensions within the family, Charles's compassionate leadership style, according to royal historians, played a major role in keeping Harry connected to the royal story far longer than many commentators once expected.
She's slaughtered this weekend because there were some business cards in the back of one of her podcasts. She's still using her royal title, HRH, despite our late Queen warning her.
But she said she was in the trenches. She alludes to being in the trenches when she was in the British royal family. Girl, you lived in a castle. Like, you got a princess title.
Is willing to cut a limb in order to save the body. He's willing to even sacrifice the titles of his children in order to clean the Windsor house, because enough is enough. And Harry and Meghan know.
But Prince William is often described as someone who focuses less on hope and far more on results. Analysts say his leadership philosophy centers on outcomes, long-term stability, and protecting the credibility of the crown above everything else. As William's influence within the royal family continues to grow, many observers believe sentiment and personal emotion may carry far less weight in the decisions shaping the monarchy's future. The focus, according to royal analysts, appears to be shifting towards structure, strategy, and protecting the institution at all costs. Experts who study the royal family closely often say that once Prince William fully steps into the role of monarch, whether through growing influence today or the crown itself in the future, he is expected to take an extremely firm approach when it comes to defending the institution. Those who follow palace dynamics say William is deeply focused on safeguarding the monarchy's reputation and long-term stability. If he believes something threatens that stability, insiders suggest he may be willing to make difficult decisions in order to protect what he sees as the future of the crown, and in many royal discussions, one name continues to appear right at the center of that tension: Prince Harry. The complicated relationship between the brothers has been discussed for years, but according to several commentators, the distance between them may now be wider than ever. Public disagreements, intense media coverage, and ongoing debates about Harry and Meghan's role outside the royal structure have added layer after layer of strain to what once looked like an unbreakable bond. Yet just before reportedly boarding a recent flight, Harry is said to have made one final request that surprised some people watching the situation unfold. According to royal commentators, he asked for a private conversation with his father, King Charles, and his brother, Prince William. It was not described as a formal royal meeting filled with aides, schedules, and official statements. Instead, the request was said to be far more personal. Harry reportedly wanted a quiet conversation away from cameras, headlines, and the constant noise surrounding the royal family. Something simple and direct, a chance to speak openly as family rather than as public figures. According to people familiar with royal traditions, requests like that are actually quite unusual inside such a highly structured institution. The monarchy normally runs on schedules, formal meetings, and carefully planned conversations. But during moments of tension, there are rare occasions when personal discussions are quietly requested behind the scenes. However, what reportedly happened next quickly caught the attention of royal watchers everywhere. According to commentators following the story, the palace did not immediately respond to Harry's request. There was no confirmed meeting announced, no public acknowledgement, and no clear indication about whether such a conversation would take place. For many observers who study the royal family closely, the silence itself became the biggest headline. Inside the world of the monarchy, silence can carry meaning far beyond words. Royal historians often explain that the palace communicates through carefully measured signals rather than emotional reactions. Sometimes statements appear quickly, clear, and direct, but other times the absence of any response can quietly send a message of its own. In this situation, analysts say the lack of a visible reply immediately sparked speculation about what might be unfolding behind palace doors. Some believe it may simply reflect the complicated schedules surrounding the king's health and the responsibilities of senior royal duties. Others see the silence as a possible sign that sensitive discussions about the monarchy's future are already happening privately. Either way, many royal watchers agree on one point. When the palace chooses silence, it often suggests that important conversations are taking place out of public view, and in an institution as carefully managed as the British monarchy, those quiet moments behind closed doors can sometimes signal that significant decisions are slowly taking shape. Silence can carry enormous weight when the palace decides not to respond publicly. Many observers interpret that quiet as a signal that sensitive matters are being handled privately behind the scenes. In situations involving family tensions or institutional questions, the absence of a statement can sometimes speak louder than even the most carefully written announcement. For Prince Harry, commentators say that silence may have felt especially meaningful because it left so many questions hanging in the air. Without a clear answer, speculation naturally grows. According to several royal analysts, conversations about the future structure of the monarchy have reportedly been happening for months. These discussions are often described publicly as part of a broader effort to modernize the royal institution. Modernization has been a frequent topic within palace strategy circles for years, especially as younger generations gradually step into more visible leadership roles. The monarchy, after all, exists in a world that moves far faster than it did decades ago. But insiders say that behind the polished word modernization can also lie difficult choices about how the monarchy presents itself to the public. For those involved in royal strategy, protecting the crown's image is seen as absolutely essential. The royal family operates not only as a historic institution built on centuries of tradition, but also as a global symbol watched by millions of people around the world. Every decision, every headline, and every public moment carries enormous weight for how the monarchy is perceived internationally.
Meghan understands the stakes and she's ready to fight in court if it comes to that. Maybe if you understood the stakes, you shouldn't have spent all of your time calling the British royal family racist. Anyway, a friend of the couple said watching Andrew lose everything and become Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was a wake-up call. Meghan has taken it as a clear warning that no title is guaranteed. If anyone tries to take hers, she's not going to stay silent.
Major breaking news out of London, Buckingham Palace announcing Harry and Meghan will no longer formally represent the Queen. That means they will no longer receive public funds and they will stop using their royal titles.
You're in America now, and we don't give a shit about you. You're not our fucking prince. You'll never be king. We hate your wife. Stay at home in your $29 million man.
Because of that reality, palace advisors often study how public controversies, headlines, and personal disputes might affect the credibility of the crown. Every major story connected to the royal family is examined carefully. especially when it spreads across international media. When constant attention surrounds members of the extended royal family, it can create pressure that the palace must manage with extreme caution. Some commentators believe this is exactly where the situation involving Prince Harry and Meghan becomes part of a much larger conversation about the monarchy's future. Since stepping back from official royal duties, the couple has remained a major focus of global media coverage. Interviews, documentaries, and public discussions about their experiences have kept their stories circulating through headlines across the world. Supporters often see these appearances as Harry and Meghan sharing their personal perspective, but critics within royal commentary circles argue that the constant spotlight has made it harder for the monarchy to maintain the steady and controlled public image it traditionally relies on. As these debates continue, Harry's recent travel and reported efforts to reconnect with his family have sparked another wave of speculation. Some royal watchers interpret the trip as a genuine attempt to reopen communication during what appears to be a difficult period for the royal household. Others believe it could represent a final effort to address the growing distance between Harry and the palace before larger decisions about the monarchy's future eventually take shape. Meanwhile, analysts say Prince William seems focused on one very clear priority: restoring stability and control to the royal narrative. According to observers who closely follow the monarchy, his leadership style revolves around discipline, structure, and protecting the dignity of the crown above everything else. Emotional public debates or extended controversies are often viewed as distractions from the larger mission of maintaining public trust in the institution. For many of William's supporters, the objective appears simple and direct: keep the monarchy strong, stable, and respected. Reduce the noise, strengthen the monarchy's image, and show that the next generation of royal leadership can guide the institution through a rapidly changing world. That is the goal many observers believe is shaping the strategy behind palace decisions right now. Every careful move, every measured response, and even the moments of complete silence are often interpreted as part of a wider effort to demonstrate steady control. For the monarchy, protecting the long-standing reputation of the crown remains one of the highest priorities. Even some palace insiders who once expressed sympathy toward Prince Harry are now described as far less supportive than they used to be. According to comments reported in the Mirror, one insider reportedly summed up the mood with a very blunt remark: "He made his choice. Now he's facing the consequences." That short statement quickly echoed through royal commentary circles because it seemed to capture how sharply attitudes around Harry may have shifted behind palace walls. What once looked like a painful family disagreement is now being discussed by some observers as something much larger: an institutional divide that could affect the future direction of the monarchy. For years, many staff members quietly hoped tensions between Harry and the royal family would eventually calm down. There was a belief that time might soften emotions and allow private conversations to take place away from cameras and headlines, but according to several royal observers, patience inside palace circles has gradually worn thin. Repeated public discussions about the family, along with constant media attention, have reportedly changed how some advisors now view the situation. That is why Harry's arrival in London, according to commentators, may feel very different from his visits in the past. On the surface, the palace gates still open as they always have. The traditions remain, the guards stand in place, and royal protocol continues unchanged. Yet insiders say the emotional atmosphere surrounding those visits may now feel far more distant than before. The prince, who was once widely known as the cheerful younger son of the royal family, now stands in a far more complicated position within the larger story of the monarchy. Royal analysts often explain that unpredictability is something the monarchy works very hard to avoid. The entire institution depends on stability, routine, and carefully managed public messaging to maintain trust with the public. When situations begin to spiral in the media, palace strategists usually move with extreme caution. Their first priority is almost always protecting the institution itself before anything else. Maintaining a steady image has long been one of the crown's most important strategies. According to some observers, this concern about unpredictability is one reason tensions involving Prince Harry have remained such a sensitive subject within royal discussions. But another important layer of this story often brings attention back to the late Queen Elizabeth II and the quiet guidance she reportedly shared during her lifetime. The Queen spent decades carefully protecting the reputation and neutrality of the monarchy. Because of that, Royal historians frequently point to the expectations she set for members of the family when it came to titles and public responsibilities. Titles connected to the royal household have traditionally carried very strict boundaries about how they should be used. They are not simply symbolic labels, but roles tied closely to the reputation of the institution itself. Some insiders have claimed that Queen Elizabeth privately advised Meghan Markle to be cautious about using her royal title in connection with personal or commercial projects. While the details of private conversations are rarely confirmed publicly, the topic has been widely discussed by royal commentators for years. Since stepping back from official royal duties, Meghan and Harry have launched several high-profile ventures, including media productions, documentaries, and publishing projects that continue to keep their royal connection part of the global conversation.
It's not a financial thing. Working royals do not profit. They do not use their names to make money. It's an honor to have an HRH.
Absolutely.
So the fact that she's continued to use this HRH when they've been instructed not to.
Tash, I'm not won over at all by Prince Harry attempting to try and sort of get himself back into the good books of us Brits, okay? Like, no.
Critics argue that many of these projects still highlight Meghan's Duchess title, keeping the royal connection front and center in the public spotlight. Supporters, however, see the situation very differently. They say the couple is simply building their own professional path after stepping away from official royal duties. Either way, the debate continues to spark strong reactions across royal commentary circles. Some observers believe Meghan never completely stepped away from the royal label. Instead, they argue she transformed that association into a powerful platform that helped elevate her global profile. Now, a new development has reportedly triggered another wave of attention inside royal circles. Meghan Markle's latest cosmetics venture, teased through sleek Instagram posts and polished promotional clips, has quickly captured the interest of palace watchers. The glossy makeup visuals, carefully styled photos, and magazine-quality presentation have sparked fresh conversations among royal commentators who closely track how former royal figures shape their public image. From a business perspective, many people see the project as a typical celebrity brand launch. It follows a familiar path often taken by public figures expanding into lifestyle and beauty industries. However, according to some analysts who follow the monarchy closely, advisors around Prince William are said to view the situation from a very different angle. For them, the concern is not simply about entrepreneurship or launching a new brand. Instead, some believe the project could further connect Meghan's growing business identity with the global attention that still surrounds her royal title. That connection, analysts say, continues to attract intense interest from media outlets and royal observers alike. Since stepping back from official royal duties, Meghan has remained visible in major media spaces, from magazine features to public appearances alongside well-known figures in entertainment and fashion. These appearances often place Meghan firmly within the world of celebrity culture. Supporters say this simply reflects her natural transition into a global lifestyle and media personality after stepping away from official royal duties. However, critics see the situation differently. They argue that the continued use or recognition of royal titles keeps the monarchy indirectly connected to projects it does not officially control. Royal watchers say this is where the tension becomes particularly sensitive for the palace. If Meghan continues building a powerful personal brand while still widely recognized as the Duchess of Sussex, some advisors reportedly worry that the royal identity remains closely linked to ventures happening far outside the monarchy's formal structure. For an institution that carefully protects how titles are used, that connection can raise complicated questions. The monarchy has historically treated royal titles not just as honors, but as symbols tied directly to its reputation and public role. Many commentators also point to the guidance Queen Elizabeth II was believed to emphasize during her lifetime. The late Queen was known for maintaining very firm boundaries around the monarchy's relationship with commercial activity. Royal historians often explain that she believed the strength of the crown depended on keeping a clear separation between public duty and private business ventures. According to discussions that have circulated within royal commentary circles for years, Meghan was reportedly advised early on to remain mindful about how royal titles might connect to commercial opportunities. Whether those conversations were formal instructions or simply personal guidance has never been fully confirmed publicly. Still, the topic continues to resurface whenever new business projects involving the couple gain major public attention. For critics, Meghan's expanding portfolio of media and lifestyle ventures signals that she is building a powerful personal platform. one that still carries the enormous visibility tied to her royal identity. Supporters, however, argue that Meghan is simply using her global recognition to build independent projects after stepping away from official royal duties. From their perspective, developing media ventures, lifestyle brands, and business opportunities is a natural path for someone with her international visibility. Either way, the debate surrounding her role and influence continues to grow louder, and then another moment pushed the conversation even further into the spotlight. A YouGov poll began circulating widely among royal observers and media outlets, and the results quickly caught attention across Britain. The survey suggested that a significant portion of the public viewed Meghan Markle as a serious challenge to the monarchy's reputation. According to the poll results being discussed in media reports, 47% of respondents believed she posed a greater threat to the institution than many people had previously assumed. That number alone reportedly triggered intense conversations across royal commentary circles. The YouGov survey sent shockwaves through those discussions, but one comparison in particular grabbed everyone's attention. According to the reported results, a larger share of respondents viewed Meghan Markle as a bigger challenge to the monarchy than Prince Andrew, a royal figure whose past controversies have already generated enormous public debate. The symbolism behind that comparison was powerful, and many analysts said it revealed just how complicated public opinion around the Sussex story has become. For Prince William, commentators believe moments like this carry significant weight. The issue may not necessarily be about personal feelings toward Meghan, instead it is about what those numbers suggest regarding the mood of the public. Polls like these often act as a kind of temperature check for how the monarchy is perceived by society, when nearly half of those surveyed express concern about the impact of a former royal figure. Palace strategists are almost certain to take notice. Observers say the poll may have confirmed something William had already been hearing quietly from advisors and commentators for quite some time,
that they will not use the HRH title. That is a long-standing precedent, and there's good reason for it. Basically, the HRH is only given to working royals and senior.
I can't even. These two, Meghan and Harry, are the worst.
The issue, according to many royal analysts, is not just frustration, it is fatigue. Across headlines, interviews, documentaries, and endless public debates, the story surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan has remained a constant presence in global media. For some members of the public, that non-stop cycle of attention has created the feeling that the drama never fully settles. Just when one headline fades, another quickly takes its place. According to one palace aide quoted in royal discussions, Prince William's reaction to seeing the polling numbers was calm but deeply focused. The aide reportedly described the moment almost like a judge quietly reading a final decision in a courtroom. There were no dramatic reactions and no visible frustration. Instead, the response was said to be thoughtful, controlled, and very deliberate. Observers believe that reactions suggested William understood the deeper message behind the statistics. From the perspective of royal strategy, polls can play an important role in how leaders inside the monarchy evaluate long-term decisions. They act as signals about how the public currently views the institution. If public patience begins to wear thin, the monarchy must respond carefully in order to protect its credibility and long-term stability. Some insiders claim William had already warned King Charles that public opinion could eventually shift if controversies continued dominating headlines. In their view, the survey results simply made those concerns much harder to ignore. At the same time, representatives and supporters of Meghan have frequently pushed back against negative polling or criticism circulating in the media. Some members of her broader team and fanbase argue that certain surveys may reflect media narratives rather than the full range of public opinion. They believe the conversation surrounding the Duchess of Sussex remains far more complex than any single poll can capture. Many supporters argue that the conversation around Meghan is often shaped by intense media coverage that can amplify certain viewpoints. Headlines, television debates, and online discussions can sometimes make particular narratives appear larger than they actually are. But inside palace discussions, analysts say numbers and polling data still carry real influence. One royal official reportedly summed up the situation during a private conversation by explaining that media narratives alone cannot shape national opinion unless there is some level of public response behind them. In other words, when a poll spreads rapidly through newspapers, television broadcasts, and online platforms, it becomes part of a much bigger picture about how the monarchy and its extended family are viewed across the country. For Prince William and the advisors working around him, moments like this are not treated as simple headlines. They are interpreted as signals about where public opinion may be shifting. Those signals can play an important role in shaping how the next chapter of the monarchy is planned behind palace walls. According to commentators who closely follow palace strategy, the YouGov poll was not dismissed as random public chatter. Instead, the numbers were reportedly studied carefully because they appeared to reveal something deeper about public sentiment. Rather than seeing the survey as background noise, some advisors interpreted it as a possible sign that the public might be more open to changes within the royal structure than previously believed. In other words, a conversation that once seemed risky, discussions about reform inside the monarchy, suddenly began to look like something that might receive broader public support. Inside Buckingham Palace, those quiet whispers reportedly started turning into more serious internal conversations. Royal observers say senior advisors began carefully reviewing what options the monarchy might have if leadership eventually decided to move toward what they often call modernization. That word has become a major theme in discussions about the future of the royal institution. But in royal terms, modernization can mean far more than simply updating ceremonies or refreshing public messaging. According to insiders described by royal commentators, legal experts connected to palace strategy reportedly began studying historical precedents. Their goal was to understand how similar situations had been handled during earlier chapters of royal history. Some advisors are said to have examined royal protocols dating back to the 1930s, a period when the monarchy faced complicated constitutional challenges and had to carefully navigate major decisions. Others reportedly reviewed more recent examples involving adjustments to royal roles, responsibilities, and titles within the extended royal family. The purpose of these quiet reviews, analysts say, was to clarify exactly what authority the Crown and Parliament might hold if changes to royal titles or privileges were ever considered. As these discussions gradually developed, observers claim the atmosphere inside palace circles began to shift. What once sounded like cautious, theoretical debate slowly started turning into something more practical, structured planning. Royal watchers often point out that this is how major changes inside the monarchy usually begin. The process starts quietly, with careful research, private meetings, and strategic conversations long before any public announcement appears. Out of those internal discussions, commentators say a possible two-step strategy reportedly began circulating among palace insiders.
To surrender the lease to Royal Lodge leaves no doubt in my mind Harry and Meghan are next. The sun begins to set over Montecito permanently, and Prince William,
Prince Harry once held a fun family title when he was still on good terms with the royal family. But since his departure in 2020, another royal had to step in. Now, Hazza, before he left, was known as the Fun Uncle. That was the family title he had, sharing a close relationship with Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis.
The idea, according to those familiar with the speculation, was to approach reform in a way that looked structured, calculated, and institutional rather than personal or emotional. Palace discussions reportedly focused on creating a process that would appear consistent with royal protocol instead of targeting any individual. The first step in that reported strategy would involve addressing the long-running controversies surrounding Prince Andrew. Analysts say this could mean formally removing any remaining royal privileges connected to official duties through a clear legal and constitutional process. If such a step were carried out publicly and through proper legal channels, commentators believe it could establish a powerful precedent. Once that framework existed, the same legal pathway might theoretically be used to review other complicated situations involving royal titles. In the discussions described by royal commentators, that possible second step often brings attention to the titles held by Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Supporters of this type of strategy argue that it would avoid dramatic confrontations or emotional family disputes playing out in front of the world. Instead of public arguments or explosive headlines, any changes would appear as part of a broader institutional update. No fiery speeches, no televised confrontations, and no personal accusations, just a structured legal process moving quietly through established procedures inside the monarchy. Even some commentators who have expressed sympathy toward Harry admit that such a strategy would appear politically clever from the outside. It would not necessarily look like punishment or retaliation. Instead, the move could be presented as a practical adjustment within a royal system that many observers already believe is slowly evolving as it moves deeper into the 21st century. To the public, these developments might appear like routine administrative steps, legal paperwork moving calmly through official channels, But inside royal discussions, some analysts believe the process could represent something far more significant. What appears on the surface as small adjustments might actually reflect a deeper restructuring of how the monarchy plans to operate in the future. Royal analysts often say Prince William is believed to hold a very specific vision for the next era of the crown. In that vision, the monarchy becomes smaller, sharper, and far more tightly organized. Instead of a wide circle of public figures carrying royal titles, the institution would rely on a compact group of working royals whose roles are clearly defined and carefully managed. Supporters of this idea argue that a streamlined monarchy would appear more modern and easier for the public to understand. Fewer official representatives could mean clearer responsibilities, stronger messaging, and a more disciplined public image. This concept is often described by royal commentators as a slimmed-down monarchy, a model that has been discussed inside royal analysis circles for years. Under this structure, every public appearance, charity engagement, and international visit would be handled by a smaller number of trusted representatives. The goal, according to analysts, is to keep the royal image polished, focused, and free from distractions that might pull attention away from official duties. When observers compare this vision with the path Prince Harry and Meghan have followed since relocating to California, the contrast becomes hard to ignore. Their life outside the royal system has included media interviews, documentary productions, business collaborations, and personal branding ventures that place them firmly inside the world of global entertainment. Supporters see this as the couple building an independent life on their own terms, shaping careers far beyond the boundaries of royal protocol. Critics, however, argue that the constant spotlight surrounding their projects continues to keep their royal connection tied to ongoing headlines around the world. For advisors focused on protecting the royal institution, that difference in direction raises complicated questions. If the monarchy is moving toward a smaller and more tightly controlled structure, every remaining title and public association becomes part of a system that must be carefully managed.
A progressive new role within the royal family. While the royal family does modernize, I mean, the Queen sends tweets.
Harry was never going to take US citizenship because he would have to renounce his titles. He would then have to pay tax like a US citizen does, and we know that with Harry's special visa.
Within that framework, analysts say palace strategists may begin evaluating whether certain roles still fit within the future Prince William reportedly envisions for the monarchy. As discussions about modernization continue, every title, responsibility, and public role may be examined through the lens of long-term stability. Some commentators even describe the possible strategy as politically clever because of how quietly it could unfold. If Parliament were ever involved in establishing legal procedures around royal titles, the monarchy would simply appear to be following established rules rather than making emotional decisions. From the outside, everything would look calm, procedural, and orderly. No dramatic confrontations, no public family disputes, and no heated announcements. Just a system operating according to its official framework and constitutional processes. But behind that calm explanation, royal watchers believe the shift could represent something far more strategic. In their view, the next phase of the monarchy may already be taking shape through Prince William's long-term planning. Step-by-step conversations about structure, titles, and responsibilities are reportedly helping define what the institution could look like in the years ahead. At the same time, King Charles continues focusing on his health while still carrying out important duties of the crown. During this period, analysts say William's role within the royal structure naturally becomes more influential. His presence in key discussions about modernization, public image, and long-term stability appears to be growing stronger as the monarchy prepares for the future. What stands out to many observers is just how quietly this rise in influence has taken place. There have been no dramatic declarations and no sudden announcements. Instead, William's approach appears careful, disciplined, and strategic, building influence through steady leadership and thoughtful planning as the monarchy prepares for the next chapter of its long history. Instead, observers describe Prince William's rise as steady, controlled, and extremely strategic. Rather than making dramatic moves, his influence appears to be growing quietly through careful planning and disciplined leadership. In many ways, analysts say this approach stands in sharp contrast to Prince Harry's far more public style of addressing personal and family matters. While Harry has often shared his perspective through interviews, documentaries, and public discussions, William tends to operate almost entirely behind palace doors. As King Charles continues focusing on his health while maintaining royal duties, William has gradually stepped into larger responsibilities within the monarchy's leadership structure. Royal commentators say he has been filling important spaces in decision-making and long-term planning. Diplomats, senior advisors, and palace officials are increasingly said to look toward William when conversations turn to the monarchy's future direction. Meetings, briefings, and internal strategy discussions often place him near the center of those conversations. Staff members working within the royal household are also described as adapting to William's pace and expectations. His approach is often characterized as more disciplined, more structured, and strongly focused on protecting the reputation of the institution. Many observers believe this difference in leadership style is what fuels the deeper tension between the two brothers. Critics frequently describe King Charles as patient and diplomatic, someone who prefers calm dialogue and gradual reconciliation. William, on the other hand, is often portrayed as far more decisive. Supporters say he values structure, organization, and quick action whenever he believes the monarchy's reputation could be at risk. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic in the United States, Meghan continues building her own media presence and public platform. One part of that effort has been her podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, which has received mixed reactions from listeners and media reviewers. Still, Meghan highlighted the show's recognition at the Signal Awards, presenting the achievement as a proud milestone in her expanding media journey. Some royal commentators have even started referring to what they call the Meghan effect, a phrase used to describe how certain projects are promoted with polished visuals, strong messaging, and confident branding. Supporters see this as smart, modern marketing in a competitive media world. Critics, however, argue that the promotion can sometimes create expectations that feel larger than the final results. Behind the glossy photos, social media clips, and carefully crafted captions, a few media insiders have suggested that some projects did not always match the level of success that the promotion seemed to promise.
The hypocrisy is beyond anything I've ever seen.
He's duplicitous, self-centered, vile, disloyal, hypocrite.
For the monarchy means for the monarchy.
Well, people are talking about it being a constitutional crisis, and I'm not sure it is a constitutional crisis. I mean, through circumstance and the Cambridges having 3 children, Harry slipped down from being the spare.
In discussions about the podcast, several reviewers described it as visually polished but somewhat uneven in depth. The production quality, styling, and presentation were often praised, yet some critics felt the conversations themselves did not always match the level of visual polish. Reactions like this are fairly common in the entertainment world. Still, they have added another layer to the public conversation surrounding Meghan's growing list of media ventures. People who work in creative industries often point out how much effort public figures invest in shaping their image. Photos, lighting, wardrobe, staging, and social media presentation all become powerful tools in building a recognizable personal brand. According to critics within royal commentary circles, that strong focus on image can sometimes overshadow the substance of the projects themselves. They argue that the visual storytelling occasionally receives more attention than the content behind it. Meanwhile, observers say Prince William's advisors tend to approach these situations from a completely different angle. Instead of reacting emotionally to headlines, analysts believe palace strategists focus more on patterns, reputation, and long-term institutional stability. Inside the palace, discussions about the Sussex story are often framed around public perception and consistency rather than personal feelings. For Prince Harry, the shift in public narrative has been especially noticeable. There was once a time when he was widely celebrated as the adventurous younger prince, admired for his military service and deeply respected for his charity work around the world. That image made him one of the most popular figures connected to the royal family. Even today, many people still remember that earlier chapter very clearly. Some insiders now describe Harry as someone carrying the heavy weight of complicated decisions. What once looked like a bold step toward freedom and independence has slowly turned into a far more complex reality. Stepping away from royal duties was meant to create a fresh beginning. Instead, it placed Harry into a global media environment filled with headlines that are often difficult to control. California was supposed to offer peace, distance, and privacy. Yet observers say it has also become a constant stage where every decision made by the couple quickly attracts international attention. Commentators frequently describe Harry as searching for a clear role outside the royal system. Without the structure that once came with official duties and responsibilities, the transition has not always appeared smooth. According to reports circulating in royal circles, Harry has made occasional efforts to reopen communication with members of his family, hoping to rebuild dialogue after years of tension and public scrutiny. Some palace staff members, however, are said to remain cautious about those attempts to reconnect. One staff member was quoted in royal commentary circles making a blunt observation saying, "He apologizes when he needs something. That's not change, that's strategy." The remark quickly caught attention because it suggested a level of skepticism still lingering behind palace walls. At the same time, critics claim that some of Meghan's projects have struggled to maintain strong momentum within the fast-moving entertainment industry. Hollywood is a constantly shifting landscape where new personalities and trends appear almost overnight, quickly pulling public attention in new directions. For Prince Harry, someone who grew up inside the carefully structured and protected environment of the royal family, navigating that unpredictable world can feel dramatically different from the life he once knew. Royal life offered a clear role, defined responsibilities, and a strong institutional framework. Without that structure, observers say the transition into global media culture can be challenging. Friends and commentators sometimes describe Harry as caught between two powerful loyalties: protecting Meghan while also carrying the deep identity he once held within the royal family. That conflict, which he once tried to leave behind, now appears to sit right at the center of his story. The life he chose was meant to bring independence, freedom, and peace away from palace pressures. Instead, it has also created a constant storm of global attention that is difficult to escape. Some people close to the broader situation believe Harry understands that many of the challenges surrounding him today are tied to decisions he personally helped shape. As pressure grows and headlines continue, some observers believe he may even be quietly asking himself a question he once refused to consider: did he make the biggest mistake of his life? Now imagine that scenario. Many royal analysts imagine a future where the titles of Duke and Duchess of Sussex may no longer sit at the center of the story. In that possible future, it would simply be Harry and Meghan navigating celebrity life without the royal labels that once opened doors around the world. Inside the royal system, titles are far more than symbolic honors. They often bring influence, security, access, and opportunities that can shape how public figures are viewed on the global stage. If Prince William's vision for a smaller, more tightly organized monarchy eventually becomes reality, the institution could emerge more focused and disciplined than ever before. Fewer working royals, clearer responsibilities, and a carefully controlled public image may define the next era of the crown. But if Prince Harry ever hopes to rebuild a bridge back toward the royal family, many observers believe it would require a level of humility, patience, and quiet diplomacy that the public has not yet fully seen. Either way, the next chapter of this story could reshape how the world understands the modern monarchy. Major decisions, shifting roles, and evolving traditions may all play a part in what comes next. And if you made it this far, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who follow royal news. Drop your thoughts in the comments below as well, because this story is still unfolding and more royal developments and major updates are coming soon.